thank you everyone for attending. Okay, we are at time, so we can go ahead and get started. So hello everyone, thank you so much for being able to come to today's talk. So this is a general state of JuliaHealth, high-level overview, summary of what has been going on in JuliaHealth over, I guess I'd say not only the last year, but also the last couple of years, since this is our first ever JuliaHealth mini-symposium. So a huge welcome to everyone here who's able to make it. It was, been fantastic so far. Just a few notes on some logistics, though. Just due to various constraints, you'll see on the schedule that some of our members who are presenting were not able to make it here due to various reasons, such as visa problems, so on and so forth. So there will be work still being presented. You'll just see me up here presenting on their behalf a little later today. But with that said, thank you so much for joining. I am Jacob Zelko. I am the current leader of the JuliaHealth organization, started around 2021, 2022. Just to give a brief background about myself is that my undergraduate studies was in biomedical engineering, finished up studies recently in applied mathematics. In the past, I held roles at Georgia Tech Research Institute and the United States Centers for Disease Control. Most recently, I was a RU Institute affiliate dedicated to looking at bringing cutting-edge healthcare research along the New England corridor. And these days, I actually work as a research affiliate with the Center for Computational Epidemiology, Public Health Informatics Lab at University of Saskatchewan. Kind of moving on from there, you might also know me from various other sorts of work within Google Summer of Code and also the Algebraic Julia ecosystem and community. We'll skip that for now. Just a fun little slide showing what I get up to. But we want to talk about JuliaHealth. So to give a quick overview on the general history, since this is our first ever mini symposium, and for some of you this might be the first time you're hearing about JuliaHealth, is that this was more or less founded in 2020 by Dr. Dylan Maluthgay while he was actually still a clinical MD PhD student at Brown University. And this was created specifically at the time to coordinate some discussions around responses to the COVID-19 pandemic. As of today, I don't know why you have two copies there, but we have about approximately 300 members of the JuliaHealth organization worldwide. This can range from researchers such as clinical field or computational specialists and informaticians, as well as beginners or just enthusiasts who are students, maybe hobbyists, or other folks interested in seeing how we can kind of combine Julia for health research. Just to give a quick synopsis and history of some of our major events since I've taken leadership. Back in summer of 2024, we hosted our first ever JuliaHealth workshop. We called it the Warsaw Workshop. This was hosted in Warsaw, Poland, with the National Information Processing Institute in partnership with Dr. Jacob Matura, who sadly could not be here today, but you'll hear about his work a little later. And then also today, we have the first ever JuliaHealth mini-symposium here at JuliaCon. So to give a quick synopsis overview of the ecosystem, we'll dive more into this in just a moment. JuliaHealth serves as kind of just a centralizing focal point for folks who are interested in using Julia for a variety of different healthcare research questions, as well as health problems that are interested in researching using Julia. It's home to dozens of Julia packages. There's multiple different sub-ecosystems, such as the medical imaging sub-ecosystem, observational health ecosystem, and many more other emerging ecosystems that have organically evolved over time as interest has allowed. Additionally, there's now JuliaHealth blog, which we'll talk about as a huge success for the community so far, and also multiple Google Summer of Code Fellows, which we'll especially recognize in a little bit. And this to talk briefly about our community presence. I mentioned we have about 300 people worldwide. Here is where we are. So we're generally speaking located on the various parts of the internet, such as the Julia Slack and the Health and Medicine channel, on the Julia Zulip being the Biology, Health, and Medicine channel, and also YouTube. Thanks to Viral Shah and some of the other Julia creators and maintainers, they've given us permission to actually post the occasional JuliaHealth YouTube video directly to the JuliaHealth Julia language platform on YouTube to about 100,000 people worldwide. Additionally, we do have monthly meetings. These are generally focused right now these days for time zones specific to Americas, Africa, and Europe. There has been some attempts at also generating a Asia-Oceania specific chapter. I'll talk a bit more about those details in a little bit. And then there's also a huge presence with JuliaHealth with our relationship with Google Summer of Code. Now, to kind of coalesce some of the community goals that have emerged over the past couple of years, is that these are kind of the 4 main goals that we have as a community right now. We're still kind of hashing these out formally, but with the last JuliaHealth year in review meeting that we have at the end of every year, we decided that these 4 were kind of the most central to us as a community so far, which is that JuliaHealth serves as a place for providing a place for discussing and exploring innovation and health research across the Julia ecosystem. Health equity should be and is a priority, foundational priority for the JuliaHealth ecosystem. It is not an afterthought, but something that is core and fundamental to us. JuliaHealth should enable the development of new research software and workflows for practical use cases. And additionally, share approaches in these techniques through monthly meetings, discussions, and blog posts. So to give a kind of highlight of some of the quote like best hits so far of what's been happening both within the ecosystem, the package development, and also research outputs, the next couple of slides will be talking around what have we been able to achieve collectively. So the first package, which you just recently heard about, is Coma MRI. Just want to highlight this package. For those who have not heard about it, Coma MRI is a Julia package meant to simulate general MRI scenarios. Seen here is the awesome kind of graphical user interface that Coma MRI provides. And to give a high-level overview of what Coma MRI, some of the features where it takes place, is that spearheaded by Dr. Carlos Castillo-Passi and his team over at Stanford University. These features, which come directly from the Coma MRI documentation, which is extremely well done. I highly recommend anyone to look at who is interested in documentation to look at Coma MRI as a great example of package documentation. Is that this allows things such as fast simulations by using CPU, GPU parallelization, compatibility with community standards, interactive visualizations, cross-platform support, and a very friendly user interface for people with no programming skills. Just some quick statistics. Is that globally becoming very popular with over 1,500 downloads, rising in popularity, at least on GitHub, if GitHub stars or any metric, just to report that. And there's a variety of different use cases that this could be used for. And additionally, just a huge congratulations to the Coma MRI team, as they have recently actually been able to publish a paper on Coma MRI specifically, I think it was this year. So huge congratulations to their team. The next package I want to highlight is neuroanalyzer.jl. Neuroanalyzer.jl is a Julia toolbox for analyzing neurophysiological data. This is spearheaded by Adam Wazinski, based out of the Medical University of Lodz. For the Neuroanalyzer toolbox, this features and focuses more on analysis, where you can import and edit neurophysiological data, visualize EEG, MEP, EDA signals, submodules for simulation and studies, scriptable and parallelizable analysis pipelines. So again, some quick statistics, quick potential use cases, and similarly, congratulations to Dr. Wazinski, as he has also published a paper on Neuroanalyzer just also this year with the Journal of Open Source Software. So huge congratulations to that team. And then kind of the final high-level package that I want to highlight is Thunderbolt.jl. Thunderbolt.jl is a modular shared memory high-performance framework for multi-scale cardiac multiphysics. This is spearheaded by Dennis out of Ruhr University Bochum. It features cardiac mechanics, cardiac electrophysiology, simulation, and model development, and high-performance parallel solvers. This work is still rapidly ongoing, as Dennis has informed me, but it's definitely a package to look out for in the JuliaHealth ecosystem, and extremely exciting to see just the variety of different tools that we have for simulation across a variety of different domains and use cases that we're interested in. I'm going to skip this for time right now. I might come back to talking about HealthBase a little later, but I'll skip this for now. I want to move on to community highlights. And as I mentioned kind of earlier, there's been some big developments within the JuliaHealth ecosystem. To start with, on some of the softer ones, is that we actually have a wonderful new JuliaHealth blog, which comes as courtesy of Div Goyal and Hitarth Shah. So a huge thank you to these community contributors in the ecosystem for that. And to show you just really quickly what that looks like, shown here is kind of the landing page right now we have, not only for the blog, but also for the website. It gives a quick and easy sort of entry point to some of the package and ecosystems, but not only in JuliaHealth, but also around JuliaHealth. As shown here, we have multiple different sort of friend and partner organizations that we think are very much related to the work that we want to be doing. And we always want to use our platform to increase discoverability of not only these packages, but also these communities, so people know exactly where they can go to keep doing their work productively in Julia. And then moving into the blog itself, you actually have a variety of different blog posts being published over the last year or so that the JuliaHealth blog has been around. So a huge thank you to not only just contributors in the community, but also Google Summer of Code fellows and participants in JuliaHealth. And we'll talk about Google Summer of Code in a little bit here. But that is currently the JuliaHealth blog, and there's lots of hope and aspiration around that. Moving on to Google Summer of Code, I did want to take a moment to really shout out and recognize all of our community participants so far for Google Summer of Code. As I mentioned, JuliaHealth has been around since about 2020. I've been leader here since 2021, 2022, and we didn't actually start Google Summer of Code until 2023. I accidentally just noticed I missed the date. Ryan Kurolf is 24, but I actually first ever Google Summer of Code participant was Farida Abdulaziz, and she kind of kicked off the Google Summer of Code revolution that has taken place within the JuliaHealth ecosystem. We've had a variety of different contributors and partners from all parts of the globe contributing to different packages and ecosystems within JuliaHealth, and none of this would not be, a lot of these features and packages and ecosystem development you'd see now would not be as nearly as exciting if it wasn't for them. So a huge thank you to all of our Google Summer of Code contributors. I'll just list them off really quickly. Farida, Ryan, Jay, Jan, Div, Michaela, and Indu. So thank you all so much for your participation so far. And then to also kind of hit some highlights on research. So as I mentioned, there's a variety of different ecosystems that are emerging within JuliaHealth. For the ecosystems right now, I'm just kind of cherry picking some different papers that have been published. So here are 3 papers that were kind of published in the last year or two. So this is showing not only that JuliaHealth is growing in terms of packages, having tools that are becoming useful, but also showing like how these packages and tools are translating into direct research outcomes, or at least enabling future research endeavors. So huge congratulations to Castillo Pasti's group, Wazinski's group, and many more people here. It's great to say that there's too many papers for me to put on one slide right now, which I'm really excited to report about. Observational health, there's been some work being done with fairness and health equity and disparities with disease definitions of disease. Within kind of an other general category, just to kind of poke or focus on some right now, we have a publication that was in collaboration with the Julia Dynamics community, which is looking at biomedical signal processing for physiological signal analysis in open science using the Julia language and associated software. And then we have some other sorts of conference events, as well as forthcoming papers around using some of these JuliaHealth and public health related ideas for various domains of applied mathematics. So there's a lot of stuff happening right now within the research output part of the JuliaHealth ecosystem, and I'm excited to see it continue growing. As I said, this is a quick snapshot, and something that we'd love to do in the future is maybe to syndicate or better track where the publications are coming from and from who within the JuliaHealth ecosystem. And so that brings me to kind of part 6, which is where we want to grow. And there's kind of 2 parts here to this part that I want to talk about, where after months of communication about JuliaHealth as a community growing over the couple of years here or so, is that we've identified some parts where it seems like JuliaHealth is actually succeeding as a community. And of course, that also goes without saying that we want to continue this pattern of success for these particular domains or topics. And the good news is that folks both new and kind of who have been around in the ecosystem do say that the JuliaHealth ecosystem is a welcoming, inclusive, and supportive community and environment and ecosystem, which is definitely a goal that we want to enable and achieve for anyone who might be interested in broader health research exploration and developments. There's also been a tremendous success with also highlighting and sharing the work in community settings. This has actually led to very practical, actual collaborations happening within the JuliaHealth ecosystem between various members of the JuliaHealth community. So as a result, there have been some events, packages, publications being built jointly in between this sort of confluence of sharing information. We continue to look at engaging with the broader ecosystem, building community relationships with like Julia Bio or BioJulia. I always forget which way. I'm pretty sure it's BioJulia and some other adjacent sort of related communities, and continuing to recognize contributions just as a whole within JuliaHealth itself. That has been something that I think we've succeeded on, and it seems like the community has converged to say that we have. Now, the community as a whole has also been saying parts where Julia can grow. And I think the number one most important, vital part of JuliaHealth as a whole ecosystem is the problem of documentation. Right now, there's been common feedback saying that JuliaHealth as a whole, for packages that we have, often can lack a unified feeling between documentation. You might have some folks using Documenter Press, you might have Documenter being used, or you might even just have README files, or perhaps even just doc strings in your code. So it's very hard to sometimes find an entry point into packages or tools that are being used within the ecosystem. There needs to be maybe more templates that people can more easily follow, not only for package development, but also to say, here's the workflow on how you might want to use the packages with not only JuliaHealth packages, but also other packages across the broader Julia ecosystem. And additionally, kind of related to that is this notion of making this all more comprehensible, because it's very easy for an expert to say, you just use the package like that, compose it with this other package, and you're off to the races. But for a newcomer who's not familiar both with Julia and the broader Julia landscape, figuring out these ways of composition that just solve your problem without having to create a new massive monolithic package aren't oftentimes obvious. And so there's kind of a problem here where JuliaHealth can grow more. And additionally, there's also the notion of enabling more attendees. So as I mentioned earlier, we kind of said a foundation is to provide an equitable environment that is inclusive and open to all. And something that is a barrier has been time zones. Time zones is kind of the bane of, I think, all of our existences in one way or another. So there has been some community effort to look at how we can make community meetings happen both at times that work, over in Eastern and Western hemispheres. So far, those efforts are still undergoing, where we're trying new things out, but the effort is being made, but obviously we can still focus there and continue to grow. So this kind of brings me to future and community goals, where there's kind of different potential different directions we could potentially be going, such as building across the ecosystem. What can we think about and do here? So for example, something small, low-hanging fruits are things like NUM-focused small development grants that can be used for open source, open science communities and research ecosystems to help ameliorate some of these problems that we've identified as a community as a whole, and explore perhaps other partnerships with other organizations or other Julia GitHub organizations, or even more formally in other venues, to see how we can actually build this ecosystem, make it more accessible to all, and also improve kind of just overall ergonomics of how it means to work with this ecosystem. Additionally, there is also some work being done to explore other fields, as you'll hear a little later today. There's work looking at how we could potentially implement things like large language models into some of these health sub-ecosystems, things like geospatial health informatics, and also there is the kind of massive sort of unspoken recognition that still to this day, Julia is great, we love Julia, but right now kind of where the state of the art when it comes to social sciences, public health research is still the R programming language. And there has been work being done with groups like XKDR within Julia to actually address things like survey methodology and survey design, and working with that sort of data and eventually harmonizing it across other data assets and sources within a Julia environment. So I'll kind of end off here. I decided to kind of end the talk just a little early because I thought, this is kind of going to attract some maybe new folks here, as well as to leave us some time to talk about, as a community, maybe where do we want to grow potentially, or where would you like to see JuliaHealth grow? Even if you're not a member of the community, all feedback is valuable here. So I'll go ahead and end off here, and I open the floor to discussions. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your intro. I wish I had known about this. Unfortunately, in terms of the planning of this conference, right across the hall, there is actually also a session on neuroblocks. So NeuroBlocks is a computational neuroscience platform that is really designed for healthcare applications, both in terms of being able to model neurological and psychiatric disorders mechanistically to behaviorally, and also their therapeutic interventions. So I just wanted to make you aware this is a Julia package, and we definitely welcome collaborators and users.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much for mentioning that, because I also noticed that tragically, kind of last minute, that somehow we had this co-parallel track going on. Because I agree with you. I think there's just definitely synergies that all the ecosystems and community can explore here. So thank you for making me aware. I'll definitely follow up. I know. Yeah. Any more thoughts or questions from folks?
May I ask, oh God, what are some core capabilities that you think might be good for the goals that you have? Like maybe data about health across the world, or like what kinds of things do you think are missing and would be useful to a beginning audience thinking about equitability in health?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. I would say actually my first thought actually isn't so much just diving into particularly we need to build a new package per se, as I found I think that our ecosystem really succeeds in bringing data to the users really easily. You have tools like our data sets, or tidy data, I think is another one. Just basically a lot of these packages are kind of pre-built, ready to go, that allow you to just load in sample data sets to get you exploring. And something that ends up happening within the JuliaHealth ecosystem is still it's not quite fully, I'd say, at capacity to actually bring people data to explore these questions of, be it equity or just other health research domains in general. So something that's a really low-hanging fruit is not only questions around how could we build, perhaps better unified data APIs, or just some general health sample data type of package that allows people to bring this into their ecosystem or bring this into their own workflow to follow through tutorials. There's been some work done to actually create a package that provides and provisions some sample data sources to work with. But at this point, it's mostly just a matter of someone taking that on and making it their project. So that would be my first kind of answer. But then as it comes to health equity and those considerations in general, something that I think is really powerful, I need myself personally, and I'm sure the ecosystem can too, is, I look at the ecosystem like MLJ, the Julia MLJ ecosystem, and they have a variety of tools there for class imbalance and sort of these other sorts of analyses that you could work with, analyzing where there might be class imbalance structures within your data sets itself. And something that, a cross-pollination effort that should probably take place is saying okay, we have, here's the MLJ pipeline, and now here's how you can, leverage the JuliaHealth maybe data provisioning tools or some of these JuliaHealth tools to load in your data, and then here's how to think about equity as you go forward. So again, it's a matter of kind of just having to do it, but also the wherewithal to know how things compose. So it's a tricky problem. It's because it's not just a technical problem, it's also a very social problem.
Yeah, mine is a contribution. It's where do you want to go? It's about the documentation. I want to see a big improvement on the documentations. Especially it allows to attract the new entry-level people.
No, yeah, I guess we'd say specifically for the JuliaHealth ecosystem, something that we're looking into right now is we actually do have a written proposal for here's what we would do, revamp across the JuliaHealth ecosystem to provide a better entry point in terms of documentation of how people can get involved. Something, I skipped it earlier, but I can show it now because this is, I think, goes well with the discussion, is that there is a package that we're slowly working on called healthbase.jl. Healthbase.jl its goal is to be an extremely lightweight package that provides a unified sort of API and interface, as well as provide helper functions that are in support of a variety of different workflows that someone might want to be doing within JuliaHealth. And so what I'm imagining is at some point we can have a variety of different, say, workflow guides where, for example, if you want to do an observational health study, here's exactly how to do it using the JuliaHealth tools. And also, for example, Here I'm saying using data frames, so I'm also showing not only how to use JuliaHealth tools to accomplish goals that you're interested in, but also how it composes with the rest of the ecosystem. Because what we found is that sometimes the solution in Julia isn't to create another package, it's just to create another composition and document that composition.
Any questions?
All right. Well, hey, I guess I'm gonna come back. Ready. Thank you all so much for your time. We'll have a few minutes before the next talk starts, and then we will be hearing the next talk. So thank you all so much for being able to join today. Appreciate you.